So at this time, everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Pro Tem.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Again, good evening, welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to see everyone here tonight. We will go through the agenda here. If you don't have an agenda, they should be on top of the podium in the green right here. If you're watching from home, you can certainly download it off the internet. So, Ms. Ricketts, can you please call the roll?
Sikora?
Here.
Azadel?
Here.
Terenzi? Here. Cuddington?
Here.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Here.
Dion?
Here. Hey, can everyone on council make sure that your green buttons are illuminated on your microphones? Yours okay?
It's lit up too.
Very good. Okay, very good, because I noticed that mine was off.
Oh, mine was on now.
Okay, very good. So, the minutes have been presented to council from November 13th, 2018. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions? If not, we would require a motion to approve them.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Mr. Azadil, supported by Mr. Sikora. Any questions, discussion on the matter? Ms. Ricketts, will have the roll call vote, please.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadel?
Yes.
Terenzi?
Yes.
Cuddington?
Yes.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Dion?
Yes, very good, motion carries, thank you. At 7:45, we will be having a public hearing reference a setback and variance request at 44115 Van Dyke. And then additional at 8:45, we'll be having a ordinance adoption for a planned unit development, which our planners and city attorney will probably help us out with. Okay. So at this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on any item that is listed on the agenda? Anyone have any concerns, questions, or comments about any one item listed on the agenda that they'd like to address council for? Very good, okay. Unfinished business, we had none mentioned, and none listed. Consent business, we had none listed. We did receive via correspondence a letter from Judy and Rob Urban, a letter of thank you. Also a letter of thank you from Epler Junior High, which was on behalf of their robotics team called the Robotics. They received a check for $1,008.35 to help fund the robotics program. So they were thankful and they wrote us a letter. So would require a motion to accept and file these correspondences.
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Thank you.
Support.
It's been moved by Sikora, supported by Osladil. Any questions or discussions? Ms. Ricketts, will have the roll call vote, please.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadel?
Yes.
Terenzi?
Yes.
Cuddington?
Yes.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Dion?
Yes. Okay, very good. Thank you, everyone. Motion carries. And so we have a Utica High School student in the audience tonight auditing the event. And what is your name, sir?
Eben,
Eben. And what class is it for?
for 11th grade,
What's that?
for the 11th grade.
11th grade, and it was government class?
in Wisconsin.
Miss Swanson's class. Very good. Okay.
One more, too.
And Charlie Boris is here from Utica High School, Eagle Scout candidate, is here with us tonight. Charlie, you just here on your own accord for the, for interest with the dog park stuff that we're working on?
Both got the AP government class and dog park interest.
Very good. Our chieftains are always welcome, as well as our Mustangs and the Trinity, are they Spartans? Warriors, okay. So yeah, all of our kids are always welcome. So if anyone ever wants to come audit the session or visit or just to see what goes on, please make sure that you attend. It's important. Next would be letter, or item number 5. It's going to be the property split request from 44871 Kemp. Do we have the representative here? Okay. Mr. Dombrowski, can you make your way to the podium, sir, and offer your name and your address?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name, Tom Dombrowski, address 45215 Grant Pike, here in the city of Utica. I come before you today requesting a property split at 44871 Kemp Street in the city of Utica. This is two parcels, parcel A and parcel B, formerly my parents' residence. Both parcels were originally platted, and we received two bills since the house was built in 1955. Each lot was 73 by approximately 139 deep. The house, however, in having it surveyed, encroached on the vacant lot to the north by a couple of feet. What I'm requesting to do is to make this both viable properties with the setbacks correct And it's still, the vacant lot would become a vacant lot, but it'll still be a usable, buildable lot. Just making the setbacks and everything correct.
And have you approached our assessor about the split? Or is this the first that you've had any conversation with the city?
The first time.
Okay. All right. Council, any questions for Mr. Dombrowski?
It's pretty clear.
Pardon?
It's pretty clear.
I have been at the property. Splitting it and putting things right is not gonna affect anything about either parcel. So as far as usable, buildable, so.
The planning's reviewed, and if I see that you recommend, so.
Tom, how big will the smaller parcel be width-wise?
I submitted the survey, they both were approximately 73 and a half feet wide. The one with the residence will become 85 feet, 20.20, and the vacant lot will be 61 foot. It's R1B and needs 50 foot for a buildable lot, so it's well over that.
Thank you.
Mr. Renzi?
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve this split. Everything looks to be in order. The planning commission has said to go ahead, and everything that is proposed is way, above compliance.
Thank you.
Support.
It's been moved by Renzi, supported by Mr. Sylvester. Council, any discussion on the matter? Very good. Ms. Ricketts, will have a roll call vote, please.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadel?
Yes.
Torenzi?
Yes.
Cuttington?
Yes.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Dion?
Yes, very good. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Dombrowski.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Tom, what year you were on council? What years?
Yeah.
Yeah, so very good. Anyone that doesn't know Mr. Dombrowski, longtime resident, longtime family resident here in the neighborhood. We're always great to have you in. So, all right, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
See ya.
Okay, very good. So on to the mayor's report for new business. Council, it was brought before with interest from several residents, also speaking with Mr. Osladell and our city attorney about item letter A, which is the recreational marijuana opt-out. Ms. McGrath, can you give us a little information on that one?
Well, obviously, I think everyone's aware that recreational marijuana was passed in the November election. It's officially legal to use or possess as of December 6th in the state of Michigan. Pursuant to that new law, there will be state requirements are being put into place so that we can, so that people can establish facilities to be selling recreational marijuana. Previously, under the medical marijuana statute, the city had to opt in if it wanted to have those facilities within its border. Under the new recreational act, you have to opt out if you don't want them in the border. It appears that probably they would be able to locate anywhere within a commercial district, as we're understanding it now, but there's still a significant amount of licensing that's gonna be happening by the state, rules and regulations being put into place. I believe those are expected to come out in 2020, probably early 2020. And so, many municipalities are opting out until they see those regulations come out to see what they're facing and whether or not that's something that they want to have within the borders or not. And so, it's on the agenda for consideration by the council as to how they want to handle this situation.
Council, any questions for our city attorney?
Does the city attorney have an opinion?
Well,
on
I
this
don't,
direction?
I don't offer any opinion as to the political nature of it. Legally speaking, I think it's probably prudent until we see what the state is gonna put into place with regard to regulations and how it's gonna happen, that we opt out. The concern would be if somebody came into the city, purchased some property with the intent to establish some sort of commercial business, could they make some sort of argument that they're grandfathered in, or, if the city were to decide down the road that it wanted to opt out. And along with the similar legal advice, Sterling Heights and Fraser have adopted, which my firm represents as well, have adopted almost identical opt-outs in that regard. But ultimately, this is up to the council how they want to decide politically. The one thing I will mention, a lot of people say was passed by, I think, 60% of the voters, something like that, 59%. The voters passed the legalization and the ability of a municipality to either opt in or opt out as to the sale. So that was, the will of the voters to be able to do both. But as far as politically, what council wants to have within its borders, that's a council decision.
Thank you.
Very good. So obviously, there's much to discuss with reference to future decisions, whether we have retail stores or not. Best, obviously, for another meeting down the road. But if there's anything else that someone has for Ms. McGrail.
We've discussed the medical marijuana at macro meetings a lot, and now we've been discussing the recreational marijuana. And like Fraser has decided to opt out. Newspapers reporting that Shelby is opting out. I know that Chesterfield Township has a resolution on that. Most of these communities already have these opt-outs in place. We're coming along late, and to make an ordinance to opt out, I don't want to have anything jumping in front of an ordinance being here. So I would suggest perhaps we have a resolution that we opt out until, we can have time enough to put together a resolution to make an ordinance on it. You have in your packets the resolution that I've marked up, that Fraser has, that we'd have to dress up if we cared to use that one. Is that one that your firm has also
Yeah.
written?
So the statute does not require that the opting out be by resolution or ordinance. I think it's prudent to ultimately put it into an ordinance. Many practitioners would say that the city only speaks through its ordinances in that regard. But because it's silent, it would be possible for council to do a resolution or a motion here today to opt out and direct me to draft the ordinance to be brought before the next council meeting, which will be a different council, but then you could do your public hearing at the same time as well. If that's how council wanted to follow.
And that ordinance is pretty well already drafted.
Yeah, it's a simple ordinance to draft at this point.
I share Councilman Navajo's concerns and note that prudence is one of the cardinal virtues. Perhaps we should.
Agreed also.
So then, I will make a motion to opt out of the recreational marijuana as described by our city attorney.
Support.
Motion by Dion, support by Sylvester. Council, any further discussion on the matter?
And then am I being directed to draft an ordinance for January's meeting?
Yes, please.
That was my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Renzi.
This doesn't say that we're for medical marijuana, it doesn't say we're against it, it doesn't say we're for recreational or against recreational. It's giving us a little time for the laws from licensing of the state to catch up so that we be able to put in place things that are meaningful.
Yep, absolutely. So very good. It's been moved, it's been supported, we had discussion. Ms. Ricketts, can we please have the roll call vote?
Sikora?
Yes.
Azeddel?
Yes.
Trenzy?
Yes.
Cuddington?
Yes.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Yes. Okay, very good. Motion carries. Thank you. It is 7:45. Council will take a brief break from our open session and request a motion to open into the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Sikora, supported by Terenzi. Ms. Ricketts, the roll call vote, please.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azeddel?
Yes.
Trenzy?
Yes.
Cuddington?
Yes.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Yes, very good. Motion carries. We'll be in public hearing at this time. We have the petitioner from 44115 Van Dyke available tonight. And gentlemen, if you can make your way to the podium and introduce yourselves.
My name is Lek Philippi. I live at 12995 Michael Drive, Shelby Township. I bought the property for 415 Van Dyke Avenue, Utica.
Could you just speak up just a little bit, sir? Thank you. We heard everything, but just maybe a little bit louder.
Okay.
Thank you.
So he's my architect, so he can explain more for the project, if you guys allowed him.
Certainly, thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ilia Marco. I'm with Sarah Marco and Associates Architects, located in Troy, 189 East Big Beaver. We're working with Alex, sorry, the owner of the property, and the city planning. In the past, I'll say like 4 months, And I think we came up to a good solution for Alex, the owner, and for the city, and for us as an architectural firm, that to have a nice building in the existing restaurant. Now, I'll try to describe a little bit the stages that we followed up in this project. From the beginning, we did an evaluation of the site. And we came up that the site is in good condition, the parking lot, basically, except then we need to do some repairs on the parking lot. But the building is in really bad shape. Pretty much, the building is almost rotted and needs to be demolished. Now, if we demolish the building, that means that if we follow the city ordinance, that means that we have to follow the front setback, the side setback, and the rear setback. Those are the three variances that are crucial for developing this property. Sorry. Like I said, from the beginning, we worked with the planning commission. And the conclusion that we got that we will need these three variances for us to develop the property, because if we don't have these three variances, pretty much the project is dead. Goes nowhere. If we try to follow the front setback, the side and the rear setback, that push the building almost like in the middle of the parking lot. Needs to be completely redesigned and reconfigured, the whole parking lot, and which is almost impossible because the approach needs to be shifted and other things that is making the project impossible for Alex to develop. And like I said, with the planning commission, then we got to that conclusion. That's why we applied for those three variances that are crucial to develop the project. Now, we're coming up with a new building. We're putting a small addition in the northwest side of the building. After demoing, after demoing the existing building, we're keeping the footing and the slab of the existing building. And we're making a taller building with using better materials and better looking building for that site. That's pretty much.
Council, any questions for the petitioner? Anyone from the public? Any questions or comments for the petitioner? This restaurant is Alex's? Is
Yeah.
the name Alex's Restaurant?
No, he doesn't, we don't put a name yet, though.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Mr. Cuddington, sir?
Yeah, I have a question is the setbacks gonna do anything to the parcel behind the building to the fence line? Is that gonna be still a drive-through, or is that gonna be gone completely?
Oh, we are not going to have a drive-through. We are using the existing footing. Basically, we are keeping the existing foundations of the building, just adding a small addition in the northwest corner. Basically, not encroaching more into the setback than what is now the existing building. And the reason we need that small addition is that we started the floor plans with a kitchen design. As a company, we did many retails and restaurants where we have a good experience on those two items. And this building kind of follows in those two items because retail is like a new building and restaurant for the interior. And we started the kitchen design and we came up like really with a small kitchen, small dining, not good solution pretty much. Like I said, from the beginning, we're trying to come up with a good solution from the city, for Alex, and for us as an architectural firm. Basically, by keeping the footprint of the existing building was not allowing us to have a good project. That's why we came up with a small addition and adding the patio in the north side of the building. The reason we need the patio is, in many projects that we are trying to do lately, is we want to attract pedestrian people to the property. And the patio, that's what does. You see people sitting outside, and I suggested in the last meeting that we had here, like last week, but less than a week, basically. Maybe we had the bike rack that kids then, let's say, are in the park, coming and using the bike, coming to the restaurant. encouraging the exterior activities on the area by having the patio, the bike rack, and maybe a bench. And Alex is committed to that project. Basically, he wants that project to be successful because that's what he wants to do.
Well, that building, I don't know if folks at home have seen it, but would be a very significant improvement to the southern end of our city, which needs a little bit of help as far as some regentrification. So it's exciting to see that someone wants to spend money and invest in Utica. So that's exciting and encouraging.
And Alex, you live here or in the city?
Shelby Township.
Oh, Shelby, yeah, but close by.
Yeah, Shelby Town, we'll still claim you.
Yeah.
So,
I thought he was from Utica. He speaks for.
Mr. Sylvester, sir.
We appreciate the emphasis on trying to have that pedestrian or walkability feel and stuff. That definitely is something that we value. So a quick question for the planner, John. So I see you say, so the site is future land use planned to be some sort of MXD type district where setbacks would be much narrower or even possibly non-existent, right? That's correct. And then, and so granting the dimensional variances does substantial justice to the applicant, great. Then, as well as be consistent with the vision for that portion of the city. But what was kind of weird to me is the whole thing of like, so this, any kind of like setbacks are, because of, are gonna be more of a problem. But the vision of the city is such that this, you know what I'm saying, I'm seeing what, how, is it just because it's a redevelopment aspect?
Well, basically because, so we have that area zoned future land use for that MXD, which would mean the setbacks would be 0 to 5 feet, very minimal. But it's currently still zoned C2, where the setbacks are bigger. And because he's demolishing more than 50% of the site, legally, the ordinance kicks in and means that he needs a variance. But if you ever were to rezone it, what we have planned, they would be compliant.
So it seems like he's just ahead of the game.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's essentially
Got
like
it.
preempting a rezoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the site.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, if we did enact those setbacks, he would start interplaying with the floodplain, the flood overlay zone.
Oh, and then
that's
it
over
gets
there.
really fun,
And
right?
they'd have to move the
Yeah.
drive. Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of issues that are existing at the site, so it's unique.
And I'll just add that planning commission unanimously recommended.
Okay, very good, thank you. So it's been, the planning committee and commission, our planners and our planning commission like the idea, they've approved it unanimously. Council, any questions for the gentleman? Nope.
No,
Welcome
I-
addition.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the corner of my street, so I am thrilled because there's been nothing there for like 3 or 4 years now. It's been a while, so thank you.
Yeah, don't be afraid to buy up that gas station down the way too. It's okay. I don't think anyone's gonna be upset about that. So any questions from the public or comments in light of what has been discussed? Because this is a public hearing. Everyone's welcome to say their piece, of course. Very good. Okay, so council, if there's nothing further, it would require a motion to approve the variance setback.
I'll make a motion to approve, I believe, 3 variance setback variances presented to us tonight.
Support.
Been unanimously supported. We'll go with Mr. Osler, I think. So it was moved by Mr. Sikora, supported by Mr. Osler. Ms. Ricketts, will have the roll call vote, please.
Sikora?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I heard you support. Okay, that was Mr. Cuttington. Sorry about that. Stand corrected.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadel?
Yes.
Renzi?
Yes.
Cunnington?
Yes.
Chowski? Sylvester?
Yes.
And
Yes, ma'am. Very good, motion carries. So good luck with your project, sir. I look
Thank you
forward to
very
it.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to walking there.
Next item for our public hearing is our PUD ordinance adoption. So can our planners please give a little insight?
Sure. So after we embarked on doing our whole like zoning ordinance rework, and trying to look at the vision of the master plan and what direction we wanted to go in, we realized a severe deficiency in the city's ordinance where they lacked a PUD ordinance, which is what is generally accepted across every community for the most part throughout the entire county. So what the PUD ordinance allows is for a special project to come into the community that may not necessarily conform to a specific district or specific dimensions that exist within the ordinance, but is nonetheless a positive addition. We may desire some of the creativity that they bring to the table, and this would allow us the tools to be able to achieve whatever that unique development is. So that's what this ordinance does achieve. So taking this model that we have, we modeled it off of what Sterling Heights has, what Shelby Township has, and also what the general best practices are seen for this type of implementation for the ordinance. This allows the community to be able to have a voice in the negotiation of a development of this type. So we are able to kind of direct what type of developments we like to see in these type of developments, whether it's improved green infrastructure, whether it's like bioswales or rain gardens or pedestrian elements like benches or bike racks, whether we would like to see increased density or different type of design elements. It allows you to kind of work back and forth with the developer to achieve a greater use and development for a site. So that's the general introduction of this ordinance. In terms of some of the more specifics that we discussed last time at the meetings, there was some discussion on the number of public hearings that we should have for this ordinance. We modeled it after, as I said, Shelby Township and Sterling Heights. We decided to go with one public hearing. That public hearing is to be held in city council. That allows more transparency for the process, and allows the community to have a voice at that last hurdle when approval votes are made at the city council chambers. We also decided to stick with a 25% density bonus for residential areas. That allows for a more easy transition in terms of density. So if you had a single-family home, a 25% density bonus would only allow, let's say, up to, say, duplexes or some townhomes, instead of having a high-rise condo next door. So it's more of an ease into a transition. So it's more conscious about the residents nearby these type of areas. So those are the two main things that were decided upon. Any other questions that you guys have in terms of the ordinance and the workings of it, I'd be happy to answer. But otherwise, it's a pretty straightforward PUD ordinance.
Okay, council, any concerns or questions for the planners? Or anything reference the PUD ordinance? Okay, then at this time, if there's nothing further, it would require a motion to adopt, actually, not as you were, we're gonna do that we'll do the outside the open hearing, Ms. Ricketts?
Say what?
Do we do that in the hearing or after the hearing? Can we make the motion in the hearing? Okay.
Usually close it.
Yeah, we'll close it and then have the motion. Okay, very good. Is anything for the planners from the public? Because again, this is a public hearing. Anyone have any questions or concerns, comments for the planners or council reference this planned unit development ordinance? Very good.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing at 8 o'clock.
Support.
Moved by Sikora, supported by Osladell. Ms. Ricketts will take a roll call vote to close the hearing.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadel?
Yes.
Torenzi?
Yes.
Cuttington?
Yes.
Chafsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Yes, very good. Thank you, everyone. So then, within keeping with the item, we will ask for a motion to adopt the planned unit development ordinance.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Sikora, supported by Torenzi. Council, any discussion on the matter? Very good. Ms. Ricketts, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadel?
Yes.
Torenzi?
Yes.
Cuttington?
Yes.
Chafsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Yes, very good. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay, back on to the schedule. We are in the mayor's report under department reports. And I received an anonymous letter in the mail just last week addressing blight and code enforcement issues. As well, when this past few months, I went door to door and met several hundred residents, and I heard them very loud and clear that they were concerned about code enforcement and blight within the neighborhood. I take it very serious. I think that there's nothing to help you slowly but surely lose property value than a neighbor or neighbors that don't maintain their properties, even in this time where we're appreciating and values. If someone's not maintaining their lawn or maintaining their paint on their home, or the roof is in horrible condition, or too many cars up on blocks, or whatever the case would be, that's not the kind of neighborhood I want to live in. I don't think the neighbors or the residents want to live in that either. So I'm asking council to please consider a request from the mayor's office that would be to employ an employee part-time basis in the city of Utica to act as a code enforcement officer who would be responsible for reporting not only issues that were reported onto them, but also actively and proactively go out and seek violations so that we can be ahead of the game and thus maintain our property values and our current way of life. So council, I would ask that you would consider please allowing City Hall to employ a part-time employee and make a line item. Mr. Paternoster, it would be from the general fund, right, under planning budget? Is that correct?
That is correct. We already have a code enforcement officer in the budget. It would be a matter of increasing the budget, which would require a budget amendment, the figures of which I have not calculated.
And as it stands now, currently, Mr. Hicks, our building official, and as our code enforcement officer, and he uses approximately 4 hours a week to do the job, which could greatly be increased 4 or 5-fold here. So if council would agree, I would be very pleased to have a part-time employee that would be not limited to just code enforcement, but also Mr. Hicks's knowledge and experience in building code would be a benefit to the city as well.
Do we have an approximate budget we want, how many hours we're adding? I mean, 4 or 5 hours doesn't do anything.
No, 4 or 5 hours is nothing.
Merely
I mean,
reactive.
it helps, a little bit, you know, but definitely it can.
Is there a recommendation of another 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week?
Phil? Yeah, I would ask that we had a total of 20 hours a week as a part-time to combat not only just the requests for service when they're called, but also to actually be proactive and to be able to generate reports of that matter so that folks can actually have some time to actually create or fix the problems that exist. And then that Mr. Hicks could also follow up by not only citing them with a warning, but then if it's not repaired or cured, then he can cite them with an actual court summons or a violation or fine.
Yeah, in regards to the impact on the budget, do we have even like a back of the napkin estimate of return on investment if we go ahead and do a part-time person for 10 hours, 15 hours, whatever it's going to be? That I understand there's a greater value there as far as what's going on, but as far as for how it directly impacts the budget aspect, do we have any sense of what that, or could we come up with some ballpark?
We have nothing at this time, no, we'd have to look into it and see where we're at, you know. There's the, you know, whatever you're gonna go for wage, and then hours, obviously. What we do now, basically, is I go out there, I get a complaint, or I find something, I go out, first contact, I give them a card, okay? And then hopefully they contact me. If they don't contact me, I have my secretary send out a warning notice telling them what the violation is, and I give them X amount of days, depending upon what the violation is, to make repairs. Then, let's say it's 7 days. In 7 days, I go back out to make sure that it's been done. If it has not been done, I send a second and final notice out, give them another 7 days, 5 days, whatever it is. If they still don't do it, then I issue them a ticket.
Mr. Cuddington?
Yes, Mr. Hicks, are you the one that's going to get more hours, or are we
That was
hiring
my
somebody
question.
else?
I'm a little confused.
That would
Is it,
be,
what, I mean, you kind of leave it at up in the air, so I'm not quite sure where you're going.
Currently, the plan is to have Mr. Hicks perform more hours. He serves as our
So
part-time,
we're not looking to hire somebody the way it was put.
well, it would be to either, if Mr. Hicks would accept it, first would be the case, he has to do his building inspection responsibilities. If it becomes more than what Mr. Hicks could handle, then it would be a part-time employee.
And with your other job, you would have enough time to put 20 hours in a week here?
yeah.
I would like to see something in writing. I mean, it's great that we're having this discussion, but I'm wondering if we should table this and get some information together so that we know, okay, we're looking at spending X amount of dollars over a year or a week or month. You know, because really, we all know that, you know, that our budget is very, very tight. and anything that we add to the budget just makes us tighter and tighter. So I think that by having something concrete, we need to have some dollars, and that's something that, we can look at better then.
Very, very good. I understand that as well. Mr. Oslin.
I think that's a great idea, and I also think that we're probably not interested in making this a revenue thing. We're looking for compliance. And I would hope that for a whole lot less cost, we could make what constitutes blight and so forth more visible to the people. The ordinances are there, and they are not very easily accessed through the current website. They are there, but it's difficult to find them.
Takes days.
And I would think that we would want that so that people would know what it is first, at no cost to the city, instead of coming through the other way and from an enforcement point of view.
Sure.
I think that's an excellent point for Councilman Oslo on that we should definitely be in tandem pursuing that aspect so that the information is available.
Yep.
And then hopefully, the better angels of people's nature will
Yeah.
move forward.
Well, I can tell you that
okay.
this is somewhat of a circular argument. If we don't enforce these codes, and we don't have actual physical enforcement that goes out there and does the job, then the property values in the neighborhood could slip, and then the taxes that would be there to pay that employee will never exist. So I think it is in best interest to preserve our way of life and our standard, because Utica has a certain look to it. People move to Utica because it's pretty and it's nice, and it's not another city down the way, it's right here. We have a certain maintenance level that we find acceptable. And when people move here, they move here for a couple of reasons, because we got great little neighborhoods, we got great schools, we got great neighbors, and vigilant city services. All right, our police force and our fire department and our DPW are great. And if we start slipping on city services, that's a very slippery slope to go down, because then our property values will slide, even in a raising economy, because no one wants to live next to the worst house on the block. That property drags down the other properties, because if you have 3 houses, one in the middle is doing bad with their maintenance, no one wants to live next to that house. No one will buy the other 2 houses next to them, because no one wants to live next to the worst house in the neighborhood. So it's one of these things that we need to be on top of.
So could we?
I don't think
Certainly.
that the council is not concerned about the property values. They're concerned about the budget, nothing more. Once we know what the budget is, then we can discuss
Certainly.
what we want to do, but I think we don't want to get the cart before the horse.
Understood.
I think we're both, but a concern I have is not only looking at residents, but also at businesses, because we have businesses
Yes, sir.
that need to be.
We do both. I hit both.
I understand, but just so that we're in discussion here, recognizing that it's not just gonna be residents. it's
Correct.
gonna be
No, I just want to make sure
businesses.
that.
Mr. Sikora?
I agree with everything that's been said, but at the same time, would council be amenable to put in 15 hours a week, starting this week, bring it to council for a formal approval? Because the longer we let it slip, the worse it gets, okay? I believe we have an issue, okay? We've had an issue. When Mr. Hicks addresses it, Mr. Hicks is not afraid to deal with the issue. Again, so whether it's an extra 10 hours a week.
But we don't know what that's gonna cost.
Well,
We don't have
I
a
can
clue.
take his current wage and multiply it by 10 hours a week and say that's the cost, okay, Ms. Ricketts?
20 hours times 52 weeks is $20,800. That doesn't include FICA.
Okay.
So we're looking at
Well,
about 25, 20.
Sure, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I think we should look at if there's any OPEB, healthcare and so forth that changes taxes because of the number of hours that might be put in.
Understood. Okay, so I am totally agreeable with the idea of tabling it until we have numbers. But I would just really, at this point, appreciate your consideration that the position should exist. And if, once those numbers are brought forth to provide to you, that they would be deemed reasonable, that we would actually put that plan into motion.
So we don't forget about it, can we have it brought back at the next meeting?
Yes,
Please, yeah.
Okay.
absolutely.
So there's been no motion made. It doesn't require a motion, I guess, does it, Ms. Ricketts? I believe we really haven't done anything other than discussion here. So then,
No action taken is
yeah,
fine.
very good. So at this point, we'll just,
A motion could be to table it until January.
Table it until January.
that's very good. Okay, then, would you like to make that
I'll
motion?
make that motion.
Support.
So it's been moved by Mr. Osladell, supported by Ms. Terenzi, to table the code enforcement request until January's meeting.
And at that time, we'll have some concrete,
At that time, we'll have more,
including FICA.
more meaningful
Right,
numbers that
yeah.
will speak to council. Okay. Ms. Ricketts, will have the roll call vote, please?
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadell?
Yes.
Torenzi?
Yes.
Cunnington?
Yes.
Chomsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanna?
Yes. Okay, very good. Motion carries. Thank you. So, council, a couple other items that you may have been aware of. We've been in talks with the folks from General Sports Entertainment, that is to purchase the parcel C, which if anyone from the community has noticed, there is a piece of land just east of the river, just north of north of Auburn Road, that says development coming soon. That parcel has been in agreement with General Sports Entertainment to purchase the property. They are currently the leaseholder on the property, and they have an option to purchase that property as part of their lease agreement from when they first took tenancy on the property. We've been in talks with them, and the property has been appraised. Initially, they wanted to purchase the property for somewhere around $59,000, and that was based upon it being approximately 30% of the whole entire parcel, including, which would be parcel A and B and C. That may not have meaning to you, but nevertheless, it was the 30% of the entire thing, which is roughly $59,000. Council insisted that the property be appraised so that council could be apprised of a valuable, or the best possible value. And an appraiser came back at roughly $90,000 for the value of that parcel. So the city thought that obviously it was worth more than $59,000, and so did the appraiser that was brought by way of General Sports Entertainment. After speaking with their folks over at GSE and our city attorney and our assessor, we actually counteroffered a couple times and had gone back and forth, and it was determined that they would offer to us to pay, they would offer to pay us $102,500 for that parcel, so they could have first option on that parcel, as stated in their lease agreement with option to buy. So the parcel is currently owned by the DDA. It resides outside of the DDA boundaries, but currently owned by the DDA. It is kind of a three-part ownership or lease interest, and Ms. McGrail can highlight on that. So that's why I'm bringing this to the attention of council tonight.
The property is owned actually by the DDA, and if we weren't subject to a lease agreement, I would say the DDA is free to sell the property as it sees appropriate in accordance with its duties. But because the property is also the subject of a three-way lease agreement between the city of Utica, the DDA, and General Sports, we felt that it would be prudent that both council and DDA approve any potential sale of this property. The sale is being used to further the development of this parcel C. We've already agreed to extensions to that development, $5,000 per year for 2 years. It's my understanding that General Sports has a development in mind, but needs to have ownership of that parcel. They would still be required to develop that parcel. That's not something that's being foregone by doing this. And then in addition to the 100,000, 102.5, they would also be responsible for any and all legal costs in effectuating the sale and consolidating the parcel numbers, because we have several parcels still from when this is gonna be a brownstone development that needs to be reconsolidated, and any other costs with this transaction, including revising the flood map, which
Okay,
that is
yeah.
potentially a $25,000 project to revise that flood map, which would then allow them to continue with their development. So not only would they be paying the DDA that money, but then they're also solely responsible for what's required to revise that map. And then that money would go into the DDA budget, into their bank account, because it is a DDA-owned property. But any money earned off of the taxes from that property, since it's not located within the district, then becomes city money.
Okay.
Questions?
At first glance, it sounds happy all around, doesn't it?
Well, I think that this has been something that GSE's been working on. They've been wanting the parcel, obviously, because they want to create a a structure there. They want to develop something. And they've had a responsibility to do so. We've held their hand a little bit to the fire with council, telling them that we, one, want the property to sell at a market price, which is the residents deserve and the city deserves, and two, to have it done in a timely manner. So it appears, after the negotiation portion, or at least the back and forth offers, that this is a above market value price, given what the appraiser said. Now, again, appraisal is just an opinion of value, so that one appraiser may have a difference of opinion. But through looking at price per square foot comparisons and speaking with our assessor, who is skilled at determining valuations, it appeared that $102,500 appeared to be a reasonable price for that parcel. Yes, sir.
There were also gonna be some deed restrictions to make sure this would always be a taxable piece of property. 'Cause
Yeah,
we-
so they'll be part of the legals that we put through, because there's some discussion, that there might be, some sort of a hospital or physician's use for part of the development. I mean, that's all something that we would, encounter down the road, but, you know, it's required in that ground lease that this be a taxable, use. That's where the city is obtaining a benefit from this ground lease. So we'll make sure that we put some sort of deed restriction in there or something to ensure that that is happening.
For residents that don't know, again, the city of Utica only derives $1 a year lease from providing the property from the ballpark. So they exist, we get $1 a year. The promise was the parcel would be developed, and at that time, the numbers were $65,000 a year that we'd attain in taxes. Well, it's gonna be closer to $20,000, but $20,000 is a heck of a lot better than $1. So we were trying to get to what was promised. That's not gonna happen, but I think at this point, it's much, much better than we ever had, so. And it's really reasonable as far as the type of development that can go there, with all the restrictions and the work by the attorneys and the assessor and all that. I agree that this is fair, including the fact that they probably 20 to 25,000 just in the floodplain, the other legals that they have to pay for. You add that to it, we're a lot further away than the $59,000 original offer, so.
Well, it's encouraging that we have, there's actually something structurally present as opposed to a vision or a nice thought on it. And so we can see some headway going through on it.
Mr. Osledale, sir?
If we sell, they would have to go through normal planning and normal zoning requirements for that parcel.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Cuddington?
Yeah, I was wondering, I'm not quite sure of how the print of the property looks like, that we're selling, where it stops in the back. And also, how big is the building gotta be and how many parking spaces are they gonna need?
That, I don't have the actual figures. They are still in concept at this point, but they have a developer and a interested party that has come on board to help actually build the business interest portion of it. So they will be responsible for building a structure. I believe they said around 5,000 square feet was what was proposed. John?
The site is zoned, I believe, DMXD, which would mean that they could actually build out the parcel 100%. They're also in the parking district, which means they don't actually have to provide any on-site parking. They would just have to potentially pay a fee for the parking district because of the fact that they're not providing parking. Or they would have to account for some other type of shared parking agreement to satisfy their parking needs.
Is it feasible they will pursue a PUD thing?
That would be a potential option, but with the fact that they're in the DMXC district, setbacks, stuff like that you usually have to account for, and why people would pursue a PUD are not really in the situation in this one. So, I mean, if they wanted to go beyond the height maximum, but DMXC has a pretty tall height maximum, density type stuff for housing, like then they might pursue a PUD because they want to exceed those things, but it'd be kind of difficult in that case for a DMXT district. It's more so for like C2 residential districts, stuff like that.
So, council, what I'm asking for tonight would be a motion to approve the sale of the property for the price no less than $102,500, subject to the approval of the DDA, also accepting the same terms, and to be able to act as mayor and agent for the city to help make the proper arrangements to make the deal happen.
With the Paul Park covering any costs associated with that sale, because we're gonna have surveying costs, legal costs, and the flood map amongst other costs as well.
I'll make a motion to approve all that we just said, including the stipulations, the deed restrictions, the added costs. Again, it's really more a recommendation by the city of Utica, by our
Right,
council to DDA, because it's really DDA's,
They own it.
but you would have our blessing.
Support.
Okay. So it's moved by Sikora, supported by Mr. Sylvester. Any questions or discussion?
Oh, when will we expect this to happen?
I know
Like
that-
yesterday?
Well, the DDA will be meeting on Thursday, and if everything works out accordingly, then I imagine things will move pretty swift from there, because according to GSE, they need things to happen a little sooner because their potential investor is ready to start moving on it.
Okay,
So that's always the way it works, right?
that's okay.
Ms. Ricketts, will have the roll call vote, please.
Cora,
Yes.
Azadel,
Yes.
Torenzi.
Yes.
Pennington,
Yes.
Sylvester.
Yes.
Deanne.
Yes. Very good, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Just one last thing from the mayor's office. So we have with us tonight here in the audience, Mr. Brad O'Donnell, councilman-elect, and Mr. Gus Calandrino, councilman-elect. There will be a swearing-in ceremony here at City Hall on December 18th at 7 PM.
7?
December 18th, 7 PM, for the mayor's office as well, will be getting sworn in. It'll be Michigan State Supreme Court Justice David Viviano will be here with us tonight performing the service, which will be very nice. And so if anyone, friends or family, would like to be here December 18th at 7 PM to watch two members of council being ushered in, and also the swearing-in of the mayor by Justice Viviano. I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem. Sorry, Ken. He's been here so long, he's like a fixture, you know? He's like,
Been around a long time.
We know he's here.
yeah, this is Ken's 15th re-election, I think, so he's like a good old comfortable sofa, he's just here.
Sorry,
That's okay.
Sorry, Ken.
doesn't mean we don't love you.
And we do love Ken, he's good stuff. So anyways, everyone's welcome to join, so that'd be great. And also, on behalf of the council, myself, and the residents of the city of Utica, I'd like to thank Councilman Osladil for his years of service here to the city of Utica. This will be his last council meeting tonight, and so,
Unless there's a special meeting.
unless we sneak one in between now and January 1st. But I'd like to thank Mr. Osladil for his guidance, his dedication to our macro team and our SIMCOG efforts as well. He's very insightful, he's very involved in planning. Maybe we can find a spot for him on the planning commission. He's very valuable, very insightful, and he's been a very long-time resident, and it's my honor to have worked with him, as I'm sure the rest of council can certainly appreciate that, and the residents, I'm certainly appreciate his efforts and his contribution to the city. So thank you so much, Mr.
Can I say something before Mr. Osladil? I told you I wrote a speech, I really didn't. But I really do want to thank you. You were a mentor. Councilman Osladil and I sat next to each other when I was a brand-new council person, and he helped me along and showed me the way. And when we resurrected an ice festival in less than 2 months, he stood out in the cold tossing fish for the kids, and I really appreciate that. Whatever I would ask Councilman Osladil to do, he would do. And I do believe you even voted yes for that very first fireworks. It might have been reluctantly, but you did vote yes, so that very first fireworks back in 2012 for the Ice Festival went through. Councilman Osladil, I can't remember, but you might have voted yes. But he was really a big help, and I really appreciate you, and I will miss you.
Yes, sir. Here.
Thank you.
So that will conclude the mayor's portion. Now it's council reports. Mr. Osladil, anything from your area?
I moved into Utica July 5th, 1966. Got here at about 6:30 in the late afternoon. And Utica's been good to me. I appreciate it very much. It's a good town to live in. And I've enjoyed much of my service in many different ways here, but mostly I've enjoyed the people I've worked with. And I have nothing but great hopes for Utica. Thank you.
We will miss you.
Thank you, Mr. Osendale. Thank you for all your years of service. Any other council persons have anything to report?
I just wanted to mention that the tree lighting ceremony, I thought, once again, this has been a very good event. Mr. Mayor, I congratulate you. I think you did a really good job of breathing a lot of life into that. I hope we can go ahead and continue on without succumbing to the curse of more, to try to go ahead and make it bigger and grander. Right now, it really has a nice feel that truly is the community. And whether the weather's been absolutely bitter like it was 2 years ago, or like this a little bit more on the mild side, I think folks truly appreciate it and enjoy the event. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, we really enjoyed doing that as well. Thank you to our assistant, our deputy clerk, Nancy Carter, for her help, and also thank you for all the residents that showed up. We're really pleased. Again, and exactly like you said, we don't want to make it a grand show. We just want to make it small, quaint, a little bit something for everyone that will show up and appreciate it. Really a good time. It was a little bit hectically put together because the traffic was so bad. The reindeer, they couldn't fly in. I guess they had to be carted in. They're special. It's a union contract. And then our choir group made it a little bit late. But outside of that, everything went off without a hitch. So much thanks again to Nancy Carter, our resident, and our deputy city clerk, and also Miss Ricketts for helping coordinate things as well. So everything went really well. We're really thankful for that.
As I wanted to mention, that, my wife was unable to attend, and she asked me how did it go. I said, well, the mayor asked me to go ahead with Councilman Osendale and get the reindeer and bring it to the corral, which seemed rather odd. And there really was a reindeer there, so.
Yeah, so very good. Council, any other reports? Very good. And welcoming Ms. Terenzi back from her vacation. Our world traveler, where did you go just recently?
I went to the Holy Land for 10 days.
Very good.
So
Perfect.
it was wonderful.
So, and our assessor, Mr. Grist, anything tonight, sir? I see they keep spelling your name with an H. Do you spell your name T-H-O-M? There can only be one. So, okay, Mr. Hicks, he's out of the building, out of the room for now, so I'm assuming nothing at this point. Chief Wilczek from the Fire Department.
Oh, yes, we had furnace issues, and I finally got it resolved today with our building authority. We got the okay for an emergency replacement, and they are going to cover all the costs, and they do have the money. So we're replacing both units on top of the fire department because of the crane costs, and the other one's just as bad as condition as the one that they're replacing. So,
So very good. So because the NBA approved it, council doesn't necessarily need to?
right,
Very good.
Okay, then.
they have the funding, and it's paid for supposedly.
And we're using a local contractor?
Mike's Heating and Cooling was the cheapest. I had 3 bids. 2 were identical units. The high bid and the low bid were the same units, and I believe Maine, who you have the bids for, was putting in Lennox units, but he was 21 days out, and he never did respond back to another bid for if we were going to do both units to see what kind of discount we got. But being 21 days out, it's kind of ridiculous anyhow for us to wait that long, because we're trying to keep the pipes from not freezing with electric heaters. So,
Mr. Cunnington, sir?
I heard there was some problem with the doors opening.
we got that. That's all squared away now, too.
That
Yep.
was squared away?
Yep.
And also, I want to bring this up. I had heard that there was a problem earlier this month about some of the firemen not getting to with the ambulance on time. Took 14 minutes to get there, even though our one guy was there waiting on the ambulance.
First I heard of it. Wish you'd have called prior to let me know. Never heard of this. 14 minutes.
Before the ambulance got there, they had to wait.
Know anything about it? If it's a priority 3 run and it's rush hour traffic, it's very well could be a 14-minute response if it's down on the other end of our town during rush hour. But this is the first I've heard of
Seems
it.
like an awful long time, even with traffic.
I'm just telling you, though, this is the first I heard of it. I mean,
So you,
I'll look
on
into it.
other reports, you didn't see anything that looked unusual,
I don't,
where the guys turned in their time?
Nobody said anything to me about it, 14-minute response.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything either. That's, but we'll.
Give me
we'll
a
look
date
into
and a
that.
time, and I'll look it up.
We'll look into that and have an answer for you.
Okay.
I don't know if that's accurate. If it is, obviously it needs to be addressed, but my guess is that would be unusual, to
Okay,
say the least.
just thought I'd check.
Yeah.
See what your response was.
Chief
Know anything
Cody,
about it. And I,
Oh,
I
I'm
just,
sorry, Chief Wilson.
just like to say, Merry Christmas to everybody, and, just, watch your fire hazards. Christmas, everybody likes to overload circuits and use extension cords. We don't want to visit your home. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thank you. And Chief, real quick, also, thanks to our firefighters for performing the stuffed ambulance.
Yeah, they did the stuff, the ambulance, and I do believe they donated all the toys to the Veterans Hall down the street.
The American Legion.
American
Yep.
Legion. They're going to supply military families with toys and stuff, so.
Yeah, there was a couple companies, well, the ambulance had a decent number of toys in there, but I know the folks at
Yeah,
A-Line Staffing did a draw.
A-Line was a big contributor to it.
They did
so.
their own toy drive, and they brought all the toys here to our ambulance, which made a huge difference. You could actually not see the floor of the ambulance anymore, so that was nice.
Yeah, it was a pretty good turnout.
Very good. Thanks, Chief
Yep,
Wilson.
thank you.
Chief Cody, sir?
Mayor and Council, I just want to express that we are currently participating with other agencies in an operation called Operation Blue Light. This time of year, extra patrol efforts are put out on the streets. We'd like to see everybody enjoy the holiday festivities. However, we want to make sure that everybody gets home safe. So as the public is well aware, we will have extra patrol efforts out in conjunction with these other departments. And we're making special efforts to some traffic enforcement and make sure that people are getting home safely, as I indicated. Further, for the residents in the city of Utica, if anybody's going to be away from their residence for any extended period of time, don't hesitate to contact the Utica Police Department. Sergeant Kaluzny will take your information down, and we can do extra checks of your property to make sure that everything is in check throughout the holiday season. So if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to contact either myself or Sergeant Kaluzny. Another thing I'd like to put out there, we had a resident came to the lobby, and he donated a metal detector for the Utica Police Department. We use metal detectors in a number of different capacities throughout our daily activities. And he left during a busy time. Nobody got his name. Nobody got any information from him. If he's in the listening audience, I want to thank him. Those items are very expensive. And again, we use them. We rely on them to find dangerous objects, to go over crime scenes and locate different things. So that was a wonderful addition. And I apologize for not being able to get his name and thank him personally. So if he's in the crowd or listening at home, please contact my office. I'd like to speak to you about that donation. It was very nice. Other than that, again, I would like to wish everybody a happy and Merry Christmas, and let's hope that everybody has a nice, safe travels throughout this time period.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Next up, item number 7, DPW. Mr. Lang had nothing to report today. But we did end up hiring, as council approved, a new full-time employee, DPW employee. I met with him. He's a nice young man. He's going to be, he promises to be a hard worker. He understands that working with the DPW is challenging and tough on occasion, and he also understands that what makes the city difference is, the difference in the city is taking care of some of the small details all the time. So he's in line with us. Looks like he's going to be a good addition to the team, so we're excited about that. Next up, Mr. Paternoster from the Treasury Department.
Mayor and council, you had in your packet a schedule of accounts receivables that, due to their age, have been deemed uncollectible. I am requesting authorization to have these written off. They're currently at the collection agency. They are no longer on the general ledger balance, just taking up space on the collection agency's monthly reports. So I'm requesting that we write off $51,034.68 of OWI reimbursements that predate July 2000 or October 2010. $8,138.03 of emergency response reimbursements, also dating back prior to November 1st, 2010. And then there is $150 of false alarm fees that were assessed to Merchandise Exchange, which went out of business several years ago. I would request those be written off as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the writing off of those three different amounts in those three different categories as requested by our treasurer.
I'll second.
Question,
Yes, sir.
run by me, what kinds of accounts are these again?
Thank you.
So these were accounts receivables. They were, most of them were OWI fees that were assessed against people who were arrested for drunk driving or other impairments. These all predate our switching over to the BSNA system back in October of 2010. They've been at the collection agency for all these years. The statute of limitations has run its course. And they are not represented on our general fund balance.
Understand. Is there a mechanism in place now that we don't have this happen, where they run that much time so that they're captured?
Well, OWIs are billed through our miscellaneous receivable system, one of the accounting modules through BSNA. We have my deputy treasurer, Rita Malcoon, pursuing payment of them to reduce the number that go to collection. There's no guarantee that they won't get that they won't go delinquent, although I'll let Chief Cody tell you what arrangement he has.
Yep. Some of the OWI fees are affiliated to the arrest and apprehension, housing, and so forth of people involved in driving-related offenses. What happens many times, we try to make those collections at court, try to get the case resolved at that time, so everything is resolved, the matter is closed, the case is closed. This outstanding matter that we have is a charge allowable by the state. It becomes a civil matter between us and the subject that we had contact with. What we do is we make every effort to get those charges prior to vehicles being released, prior to the completion of adjudications in court, and there are many times where they ultimately don't even have the money to pay court fines. And if anybody's going to get paid, many times it's the court, because the court puts warrants out for their arrest. Ours, again, is a civil pursuit for that money. And we make numerous efforts. As the treasurer indicated, we've contacted them by phone, internet, if we have that capability, through emails, and we make numerous attempts at trying to contact them and get payment. Ultimately, as you can see, it's been years. We continue to make some type of effort. It cost us money, time, effort, resources, sometimes in mailings and so forth, to try to get that money. And once we have this much time that's passed, we've pretty much exhausted all efforts.
Well, I understand it's over a large portion of time. I just think when people owe us $51,000, I'd like to see it in our budget as opposed to.
Yes, we would.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Paternoster? So, okay, Mr. Paternoster, I'm sure that you'd like to have a motion to approve that those uncollectibles be written off, correct?
Yes, please.
There is a
So-
motion, second.
Do we have a
They
motion?
can make the motion. You're seconding it.
Welcome. We'll welcome that. Okay, so it's been discussed that Ms. Ricketts will have a roll call vote.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadel?
Yes.
Trenzy?
Yes.
Pennington?
Yes.
Chowski? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Yes, okay, very good, motion carries. Mr. Paternoster, item B.
Item B is a continuation of a request I had last month. This is the request from Utica Community Schools, asking the city of Utica to collect the taxes for the school district for tax year 2019. I also received a request from Macomb Community College, which I would add to this. We approved at last month's meeting the collection of the 2019 taxes. So this is just formally acknowledging to Utica Schools and Macomb Community College that we will collect their taxes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the collection of Utica Community Schools, Macomb Community College taxes as we have done forever.
Support.
Moved by Sikora, supported by Osladil. Any discussion on the matter? Very good, Ms. Ricketts. Will the roll call vote, please?
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadel?
Yes.
Torenzi?
Yes.
Cuddington?
Yes.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Yes. Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Paternoster. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Anything further, sir?
Nothing further, thank you.
Very good. Okay, on to the administration portion from our city clerk, Ms. Ricketts.
Yes, Mayor and Council, with coming of winter, I always like to start cleaning. So in order to clean up some other extra files, some payroll files, long gone employees, we need to adopt a record retention. So I'm requesting that we adopt these record retention. It is approved from the state of Michigan for human resource records that mostly have to deal with personnel files, so that I can get rid of stuff that we don't need, no longer is necessary. Because I have a full two 4-drawer filing cabinets. That I could probably go down to 1 or 2 drawers.
Very good. So do we have a motion to approve the request from Ms. Ricketts?
I'll make a motion to approve the request from Ms. Ricketts to clean out the files and maintain what we really need to maintain.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by Torenzi, supported by Mr. Sylvester.
Questions?
Questions, discussion?
Go ahead.
I am one that holds on to everything forever. So but is there any legal value to have these longer than what the state's having? Because you get a case, somebody comes back at you, you destroy the record, now it's your word against them, it's not on a computer, it's,
I can answer that.
okay?
If you flip through this record retention, there's some records that we have to keep for 50-plus years.
Okay.
People that
I
are in the
started to,
pension
yeah.
system, their payroll records. So it's not like I'm gonna just throw everything away. There's, I'm gonna say limitations, if that helps.
Yes.
Mr. Osladil?
I don't know if we've got a history committee or anything like that in the city, or did have, but would, like, knowing the list of the people that were employed here and when they were here.
That would be my contention in doing that, is pulling out each file and putting in a date in a spreadsheet to say it was this person hired and leave date, and then.
Someday we could put out another book again like we have, and that information might be useful.
Sure. Yes, sir.
That would be fun.
Okay. Any further discussion? It's been moved and supported. Ms. Ricketts, will the roll call vote, please?
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadel?
Yes.
Torenzi?
Yes.
Cuddington?
Yes.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Yes. Very good. Motion carries. Next, Ms. Ricketts.
In your packets, you had the calendar of the city council meetings for 2019. I did go through the dates, and none of them fall on holidays or election days, so we should be good, but, so we need to adopt the city council meeting for 2019, and also the administration office closings for 2019. You have a list of those also.
I'll make a motion to approve both sets of calendars, the city council meeting schedule and the administrative office of closings for 2019.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Score, supported by Mrs. Torenzi. Council, any discussion? Very good. Ms. Ricketts?
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadel?
Yes.
Torenzi?
Yes.
Cuddington?
Yes.
Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Yes. Thank you so much. The motion carries. And next, the web site business promotional fees.
Yes, it's come to my attention. I've had quite a few requests to have extra businesses, whether it's promoting a college, even though they say they're pre-promote, it's a public service, it's basically promoting their website. Between promoting like those types of websites or our own businesses, we have had some requests from them. So we would like to create a business page for advertising of any businesses. Mostly it's going to be, of course, the city businesses. That is going to take manpower to create. So we are requesting a new first-time website registration for any business of $20, and then an annual re-registration of $10, which we could add that checkbox onto our already existing business registration form. I don't feel $10 a year to have your business information and your website on our website. I think that's pretty cheap advertising.
Maybe too cheap.
That's,
I'm like,
I agree.
really?
Yeah, extraordinarily cheap. I just
Seriously.
don't-
Well, you know, once it's set up, it's probably not gonna really change.
It doesn't matter.
Well, it's twofold, so even if you had the re-registration sheet.
Hey, if you wanna increase it, well,
I'm saying
I don't,
I think the first time registration, by the time you create it and everything else, I think $20 to set that all up isn't enough. So, I mean, I could see $50 and $20, something like that at least, and that's still cheap.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the
What is the
$10
registration right now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. what-
well,
We're all
this would be
talking at the same
a fee
time.
on top of their business registration right now. New business pays, a new business is $50, but then for renewal is $40 annually. Every year, they have to do that business registration. So this would be a fee just to be on the website, basically.
Which is still advertising.
That's still,
And
would
are
the
we-
fee deter people?
Are we, so are we referring to, so there's a page on the city website, and there's just a listing of hyperlinks, and so this is paying for a registration and just a hyperlink? There's not,
It would
we're
be
not doing a.
their name with a link. And I also actually was thinking probably 3 columns. Their name, a link to their website. If they didn't have that, maybe they could have their phone number instead. And then a short description of what they do, so you know Alex Smith does tailoring.
Mr. Osdeal?
I don't want to make it real lengthy because people aren't going to look at that. It's just
Right.
going to be kind of
They
a.
won't.
Has this been done by other communities, and what do they charge?
I found one community that did that, and I do not know if they charge. I looked at websites from the surrounding communities, and I only found Royal Oak that had a listing of 250-some businesses.
Well,
And then I didn't.
$250?
we can always go
250
down in
businesses.
price, right? So, I mean, if it turns out you have a higher price, and it turns out that's not popular, it's.
I mean, as a business owner, I think this is dirt cheap.
It's
For
like
me to
a-
just
it's
get
like
my
a
name on
giving.
there, so somebody comes in the city, wants to look you up.
So-
We're not talking a month, this is an annual
Right.
fee.
Yeah, it's not enough
So,
money.
so we know it's way too.
It's not enough money.
You're 80 cents a month, for the re-registration fee. If they're 85 cents no, it's, I could see very easily the first time registration, 40 to 50, annual fee, $25. And honestly, I would not be discouraged.
Ms. Ricketts, so my question would be is, how much time do you think it take you to set it up? Is it worth the $20 or is it under? I mean, time is money. How do you think, is $20
I don't know.
sufficient?
Gus, can you help me here? I don't think it's really all that time consuming.
Okay, so
Not
it's,
that terribly time consuming.
It's seconds, but if you're stopping to do one.
Then that's where it gets to be, the initial setup's gonna be a little pricier.
but you still be making money per se on it? You wouldn't be losing if it only
I'm-
takes minutes.
I'm
So
guessing
if you're getting $20 an hour,
I would
it's pretty
hope
good.
so. I don't wanna gouge the
It doesn't-
businesses, but then I wanna cover our costs also.
And I mean, maybe I'm sounding petty or whatever, but it's still equipment that we're using, and everything.
Sir?
If this is a batch and it works quicker for a batch, is there a month where you have a lighter workload and maybe can do batches and make it so that it is at that time you begin it and you don't do it other months of the year?
Well, that's exactly my thought. I'm not gonna be going in there and changing this regularly. Maybe
Sure.
one day a month, you could, if we hear someone's going out or somebody's coming in, okay? We make those changes
Or do
on,
it quarterly.
But included in this, is this somebody going to say, I want my information changed, I want this, I added this? So I mean, there's still the potential, and again, your minutes means hours to me on a computer. So there's a difference. But I'm just saying, you're still offering a convenience and a form of advertising to the business. And again, we're not talking $10 a month, we're talking $10 a
Yeah.
year.
80 cents a month.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe you should add another category, alterations or changes, which should be almost the same as the new setup. Like if they wanna change their description or their hours or something, whatever you end up putting in that description.
I mean, if we could.
I'm sorry.
No,
Should this be
I
tabled?
wouldn't go any higher. I don't think I would go any higher than, like $40 a
Okay.
year
Well,
for a
40 's
new
good.
registration.
40's okay.
And
40,
20 for a
40, 20?
let's
re-reg.
go
40,
40/20. I'll make a motion that we
thought
adopt
200 and 100,
this
but I
idea,
guess I'm
and then
just-
we change the
200.
fees
Yeah.
to first time website registration of $40, annual re-registration of $20.
Support.
Modifications.
We'll include it at that point.
Okay. So it's been moved by Mr. Sikora, supported by Mrs. Terenzi. Council, any further discussion? Okay, Ms. Ricketts, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadil?
Yes.
Trenzy?
Yes.
Cuddington?
Yes.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Yes. Okay, very good. Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay.
Ms.
thank-
Ricketts, anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you. Merry Christmas. and-
Yeah, thank you. So, Ms. Daggy was dismissed tonight. She had nothing from the library this evening. Downtown Development Authority, nothing at this time, as far as I know. Parks and Rec Commission had nothing to report. The Historical District Commission had nothing to report. Our city attorney, Ms. Linda McGrail-Ballou.
Nothing that we haven't already discussed. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Our planning commissioners, planners,
Just a reminder that the Parks and Recreation Plan is out for public review at this time, and we will be looking to hold a public hearing and hopefully adoption of the plan at the January meeting. We have received a few feedback items. Mr. Caladrino sent us some notes, so we're currently editing and revising, and any feedback from you, you can shoot me an email with any edits or additions. But other than that, everything's going great, and Merry Christmas from Macomb County.
very good, thank you so much. Okay, and then Senior Housing Steering Committee, there was a request for a no smoking policy request. Mr. Paternoster, was that your office that received that?
Yeah, that was my office that generated that. Actually, this came about as a result of conversations about the recent election legalizing marijuana and the need for us as a landlord to stave off the use of marijuana as a smoking product at Riverside 175.
Really?
So,
Hey, you know what? Just don't want it started, right?
well, it's a legal recreational use, just like drinking alcohol, so I don't know what we can do, I mean, other than maybe, are they allowed to smoke cigarettes outside the building?
Outside the building?
Yep.
Yes,
Are they allowed to smoke cigarettes inside the building?
they are, but the statute, or the, I shouldn't say the statute, because it hasn't been put into statute yet. The ballot initiative, as I understand it, would allow would give landlords the ability to regulate the use of marijuana in the form of a smoking type.
Ms. McGrail, any,
I have to research it, Mayor, and I'd be happy to do so if we wanted to, maybe table this till next month. I can look for it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't expect a motion tonight. Obviously, there was nothing in writing. This was just something I wanted council to begin thinking about.
okay, very good. Mr. Giles?
Is there anything in the lease agreements now about no smoking?
There is not. But the lease agreement does say that the rules may be changed by the landlord. And I would,
Thinking we might even have a way of having less insurance costs from a fire point of view if we had no smoking, whether it was marijuana or not, just no smoking.
Sure.
Okay. Well, very good. So Ms. McGrath-Blue will take a look into that, and then we'll have something ready for next council meeting.
I will,
So-
thank you.
Okay. Next up, I'm sorry, Mr. Paternoster, anything further?
Nothing further.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next up, our bills payable. Council, you've been presented with the bills. Would require a motion to approve the payment of the bills.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Sikora, supported by Terenzi. Ms. Ricketts, the roll call vote, please.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadil?
Yes?
Torenzi?
Yes.
Cuddington?
Yes.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Yes, very good, thank you. Motion carries. Next item would be any communication from the public. Does anyone have anything that they would like to address council for any matter whatsoever? That would be your time to make your way to the podium. Okay.
That would be you, Charlie. Do you have anything?
Hey, Charlie, Charlie's just auditing today, right? Just visiting? Yeah. All right, good. Good. Oh, Mr. Austin,
We're
sir?
done with business?
Just about. Yep.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Very good. So, okay, Mr. Austin moved that we adjourn. Ms. Terenzi supported it. Ms. Ricketts will have the roll call vote to go home.
Sikora?
Yes.
Azadil?
Yes.
Torenzi?
Yes.
Cuddington?
Yes.
Chopsky? Sylvester?
Yes.
Deanne?
Motion carries. Adjourned at
Thank you all.
8:57. Thank you, Mr. Austin.
I have an idea. When I was in the Holy Land.
Because John couldn't.